In this video today, I'm going to answer the same question that a young man asked me after an event that I gave a while back. I'm going to give you the same answer that I gave to him, which I feel like really struck him hard. And he goes, look mate, he goes like, everything you said tonight, I completely agree with. He was like, I value purity, like I do think all those things are good. And honestly, I could sense he was being very sincere, so I'm not approaching this video as though I'm trying to mock him or make fun of his position. I truly do think he was well-meaning, but he said, look, he goes, but he was like, although all that stuff about preparing for your wedding and saving yourself for the one and all that, he was like, look, just truthfully, he was like, that's not been my story. He goes, if I do really want to get married and I do want to be a good man and I want to meet a great young woman one day, is there anything wrong with sleeping around now prior to meeting her, because I don't really know what to do with all these yearnings that I've got, like all these passions and desires that I've got. He was like, I feel like I have to satisfy them somehow until I meet her. Is it okay to sleep with girls as long as like we're not using each other? Is it okay to sleep with people as long as we're kind of mutually loving each other? Now again, without making fun of him or without mocking that question at all, I was very grateful for his sincerity and his openness there. But I'm going to share the kind of four things, kind of roughly, I've tweaked it a little bit maybe, but these were kind of the four things that came to me as he asked me that. And the first one was this, okay? Firstly, I said, brother, I said, when a man sleeps around, you've got to ask, first of all, why would he be acting that way? One of the obvious reasons, okay, that men would be sleeping around in his case is simply this, is men do struggle to make that loving commitment to one woman. We all, like men, we all struggle with that. We'd rather enjoy the attention and the company and that spark that we get from meeting and mingling, you know, with multiple different women than actually making a decision to say, I'm going to commit to this one girl or this one woman, right? To the exclusion of others in the same way. When men start to move along that journey of being drawn to one woman, we often panic and are like, look, do I really want to give up, right? Do I really want to give up all the joy and the buzz of being single and being able to meet and talk to multiple women and enjoy flirting with them or even, you know, having some physical affection with them? So I was like, brother, I was like, if you can be honest with me as well, I was like, how much of a part do you think this fear of losing this lifestyle and actually starting to live in singleness and in preparation for the woman that you'd like to marry one day? I was like, how much do you think is playing a part there? I said, because honestly, I said, men struggle with knowing how much is asked of us in real love. We don't want to be turned down by a woman that we really care about. So sometimes it's easier simply to sleep with girls that we say we don't care about, that we don't love, because if, you know, once you've slept with her, she leaves and you leave and you don't have, there's no follow-up to that with actually continuing to win her heart, respect her, honor her, and love her, okay? Okay, when men are sleeping around, it's a lifestyle fueled by fear of what real love actually asks of us, right? Guys have got no problem asking a girl to sleep with them or to ask her out on a date or to go up to her at a party and ask to hook up if he doesn't really care about her. Why? Because if she says no, it's no skin off his nose. Okay, in the words of one guy that I spoke to, there's plenty of fresh meat here. If one of them says no, it doesn't bother me. I can go and try again and again and again until someone, anybody, now this is the point, doesn't matter who it is, as long as somebody says yes and I get to fulfill my desires or urges for sexual intimacy, I'm happy. It's not as much about the girl or the woman, it's about the pleasure I'll get from her, right? So I said to him, I said, brother, I said, can you agree that there could be some of that at play? And God bless him, he was honest enough to admit that he is terrified of what real love asks of him. And so by playing it this way, by not having strings attached and being able to sleep around and enjoy the attention and love of many women, right? He was like, it's a lot easier to deal with, okay? But God bless him for being honest about that. But then I said, look, mate, I said, this mentality, I said, if you really do want to get married one day, I said, that mentality is going to get you there in bad shape. Amen? I said, so we've really got to work on that. I said, my next point would be, I said, I noticed that you said, as long as you're sleeping with somebody that you're not using, right? I said, brother, I said, I've just got to be honest with you here. If you're sleeping with somebody that you have no intention of making any kind of commitment to by being in a relationship with them, I said, if you have no plan on marrying this girl, I said, if you're not married to this girl, right, then you can't call that love. I said, that is use. I said, you're simply using a girl for a time to satisfy your sexual urges and passions. And I said, and brother, she's doing the same to you. I said, she doesn't love you either. I said, there's no love present in a meaningless act of sex with someone you met recently, right? I said, it's not real, true, deep love. You're drawn to the other person's beauty. I said, they're obviously drawn to you, for certain reasons as well. And then you're both using each other to satisfy a craving for affection, intimacy, sexual passion, but then you go your separate ways after, and there's no willingness or desire to actually love the other person. I said, so brother, we can't call it love if it doesn't look like love. If it doesn't behave like love, you can't call it love. Sleeping around with different women that you have no intention of really making a commitment to, or I said, ultimately you should be married to them. I said, that, brother, is not love. I said, the only place where the sexual act makes sense and is possible for that act to speak the true language of love, I said, is inside the sacrament of marriage. I said, after you have professed wedding vows to this woman and vowed that you are going to love her forever, in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, all the days of your life. And I said, and then the sexual act is where the words of the wedding vows become flesh, where you basically enflesh the words of the wedding vows you've spoken to her by making a gift of yourself completely with your body in the sexual embrace. I said, that confirms and reaffirms the wedding vows. I said, brother, if you have not said the wedding vows to a woman, you have no right to speak that language with your body to her, because that's a lie. Amen. The third thing I said to him, I said, look, I said, let's change gears a bit here. I want you to picture yourself standing at the altar on the day that you are about to marry this woman that you've spoken about, this woman that you would love to marry, this beautiful Catholic woman of faith. I want you to think about this. What kind of a man do you want to be on the altar? How do you want to have lived? Okay, how do you want to have lived your past prior to getting there? Because the man that you're living as now, you're going to bring, right, all those habits and mentalities and mindsets. If you don't do anything major to alter that, that is the man that you are going to be on the altar on the day that you do get married. Now, look, I said to him, I said, look, let's be real. I don't actually believe that when you turn around and see, this beautiful woman on the day that you're about to get married, I was like, I don't believe you're actually going to have all these flashbacks of all the women that you've ever slept with. I said, brother, you're going to be in love with her, and you're going to be overwhelmed by her beauty, and you're going to be so excited to be getting married to her. But it might not hit you when you see her on the wedding day. But how are you going to feel in the lead up to that wedding day? Are you honestly going to be of the mind that you're going to be like, well, you know what? I'm about to settle down with the woman of my dreams, but geez, I'm so glad that I slept with all these other women as a way to meet my cravings for sexual intimacy until I finally met the woman that I'm now going to dump all that lust on, right? I don't think that's what your mentality is going to be. I said, brother, if we're real, you are going to wish, when you actually meet and fall in love with the woman of your dreams, you are going to wish that you learn to control and order those sexual passions in a way that where you are preserving them for this one beautiful woman that you love and want to spend the rest of your life with. You're not going to be proud and overjoyed with the fact that you've slept with many other women. You are going to wish you saved yourself and preserved as much as you could of yourself for this beautiful woman that you now love. Okay? I think the answer's obvious, and he nodded his head and agreed, right? Now, when you live for years as a man that is sleeping around prior to meeting the woman that you want to marry, it is terrible preparation for lasting love, okay? Because if you've been impure prior to marriage, then you have trained yourself to believe that a woman, and it's very easy for this to happen, even the woman that you end up marrying, you will train yourself that a woman is the object through which my sexual desires, cravings, yearnings, passions are fulfilled. So when you've got a man that is sleeping, and I said this to this guy, I said, if you're sleeping around, every time you feel a sexual desire or an urge for affection or physical touch, I said, you take it to masturbation for fulfillment. You take it to pornography for fulfillment. You take it to a real woman, right? And you sleep with her or you make out with her, and you are using her as an object to fulfill that craving. I said, brother, if you live like this all the way up until you get married and meet the woman of your dreams, I said, it doesn't just happen overnight that all that changes and you now become master of your sexuality, and that you wouldn't be tempted to use your wife as the object of fulfillment for your sexual passions that you have proven to yourself you are not master over. Amen. Now that point really struck him. He'd never really heard of that before. And so that was a really good point. I think for anyone in this position, it's important that we think about these things, right? I asked him, I said, do you think this is going to be a problem in your marriage? If you have always just felt like whenever you have a sexual temptation or desire, then you need to satisfy it. I said, brother, when you get married, how are you going to deal with those desires, right? And he's kind of, the easy answer is to say, well, I'll be married then. But he agreed that maybe it wouldn't be the best thing, right? To be married and to have your wife as the object that fulfills every sexual passion that you have, right? Because that's not how it actually works. Now, lastly, this is an angle that I think was really, I think it was a great angle to come at this question from. But I said, mate, look, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of your future bride. I said, you're active in this parish? And he said, yes. And I said, imagine there's a young woman here in this parish that you become really drawn to one day. And maybe that's the woman that you'd even want to marry. But she has seen you over the last 5 years living the way that you are now. And she might know that you've been sleeping around because she's heard it from the other guys. Or maybe you've spoken about it outwardly like you've shared with me now. And she knows that's the lifestyle that you're living. I'm guessing that you would want to marry a beautiful, pure young lady. I said, yes. He goes, yeah, of course I would. I said, do you think that if she met you I said, because you said to me at the start, can I live this way until I meet the woman I've decided I'd like to marry? If she met you while you were living this way, because obviously you hadn't met her yet and you haven't changed, right? If she met you at the time you were living like this, I said, do you think do you think that she'd be attracted to you? Do you think that she'd be drawn to you? Do you think a woman who wants an amazing Catholic man is going to look to you first if that is the lifestyle you've been living up until meeting her? Now, truthfully, that one was probably the point that struck him the hardest. And kind of at the end of our discussion, I just said, look, brother, I said, if you want to marry this beautiful woman, I said, you need to become worthy of her before you've even met her. I said, so if you know that you're going to have to change your lifestyle with how you are living your sexuality when you meet the woman of your dreams, I said, I would encourage you, brother, make the change now so that when you do meet her, you're actually living a life of sexual freedom. You're living a life of virtue that is going to will allow you to love her well and it will also allow her to recognize and see in you a man of faith and virtue and purity that she would be drawn to. Amen. So I just said to him at the end, I said, brother, I said, how do you feel about all that? Right. And look, I really love this guy, but he just gave me a big smile, and he was a very tall guy, and he leant down and gave me a big hug, and he said, look, he said, he said that's a hard answer, but I'm very grateful for it, and thank you. And he walked away after that. But I just thought, I think it's great that we can ask these kind of questions and be real about these questions and be real about them. But I think this answer is something that I think I've noticed a bit of a pattern in, and I hope it's helpful. If you are in that situation now or struggling with that, maybe you're watching this as a guy living that lifestyle now, or maybe you're a girl who's watched it thinking, that's a good point, I should start looking for a guy who's already made the change, right? Whatever it is, I hope it's been helpful. I just want to highlight that if you are kind of single, or you're in the dating scene, or you're really wanting to get married, I would encourage you to check out my 8-part video series course called How to Date with Passion and Purpose. You can find that in the link under the video. Use the promo code YouTube to get 10% off that course. May God bless you, and I hope this is helpful. Please share it with a friend. Subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. Comment if you've got any thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. May God bless you.